The school called and said my son was scared and begging to be picked up. Then he whispered one sentence I couldn't shake. Dad said Mom can't know. Nashville, Tennessee. I was halfway through a busted laptop at work, the kind of problem that's supposed to be simple until it isn't, when my phone lit up with the school's number. I almost let it ring out. I had a line of people waiting, my manager hovering like a storm cloud, and that tight, familiar pressure in my chest that said, "Don't be the guy who leaves early again." Then it rang a second time. I picked up, and the voice on the other end wasn't angry. It was careful, like someone walking across thin ice. "Mr. Kim, this is the front office at Maple Grove Elementary. It's Noah. He's very upset. He's asking for you specifically. Can you come now?" Noah didn't do very upset. My kid did quiet panic, swallowed tears, stiff shoulders. The kind of kid who tries to be brave because he thinks being a problem is the worst thing you can be. "I'm on my way," I said, already standing. I didn't explain anything at work. I just grabbed my jacket, my keys, and walked out with my phone pressed to my ear like it could keep my world from falling apart. The drive felt too bright, too normal. People were turning into coffee shops. A guy was jogging with a golden retriever like it was the most peaceful Tuesday morning in human history. My hands were locked at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, knuckles white, brain racing through a dozen possibilities that all ended with my son crying. When I pulled into the school lot, I spotted Mina's car wasn't there. That didn't mean anything. Mina had been doing a lot lately. Grocery runs, Target runs, just quick errands. And she always made it sound like the world would collapse if she didn't handle every tiny thing herself. She called it being responsible. I called it exhausting, but I didn't say that out loud anymore. We'd been snapping at each other enough over Noah's grades, his reading level, his focus. Mina was on him like a coach with a stopwatch. I was trying to be softer. Somehow, that made me the bad guy. Inside, the front office smelled like printer toner and lemon cleaner. A woman behind the desk looked up like she'd been waiting for me. She had that tight smile people wear when they're trying to stay professional but their nerves are doing backflips. "Mr. Kim, thank you for coming so fast," she said. "He's in the counselor's room." Then I saw Noah. He was sitting in a plastic chair like it was the only thing holding him up, his little backpack clutched to his chest with both arms. His face was blotchy. His eyes were red-rimmed and wide, staring at nothing. He looked smaller than he had that morning. Beside him stood a man I recognized from parent-teacher night, Mr. Grant. Tall, neat beard, crisp shirt sleeves rolled to the forearms like he was always ready to work hard. The kind of teacher parents trusted immediately. The kind of teacher Mina had praised more than once. Mr. Grant's hand was hovering near Noah's shoulder, not touching, like he didn't want to scare him, but also didn't want to step away. And standing near the doorway was the school counselor, and behind her the vice principal and the front desk woman, all of them in this tense little cluster like they'd been rehearsing the scene in their heads. A frozen frame. 4 adults, 1 trembling kid, my phone still in my hand glowing with missed messages from work, my keys dangling from my fingers, and Noah's backpack crushed against his chest like a shield. Noah's eyes snapped to me the second I stepped closer. "Dad," he said, and the way he said it, like a prayer, made my throat burn. I crouched down in front of him. "Hey, buddy, I'm here. You're okay. Tell me what happened." He didn't answer. He looked past me toward Mr. Grant, then back to me. His mouth opened, closed. His fingers tightened around his backpack straps until the fabric wrinkled. Mr. Grant spoke first, calm and smooth. "Noah got overwhelmed during reading. We stepped out to give him space. He said he needed you." I swallowed the spike of irritation that rose in me, sharp and unfair. Why is he talking like he's in charge of my kid? The counselor gave me a small nod. "He's not in trouble," she said. "He's just frightened." I touched Noah's knee lightly. "Look at me," I said. "What scared you?" Noah's eyes filled again. His voice dropped so low I had to lean in to hear him. "Dad said Mom can't know." My stomach turned over. "What?" I said, because I couldn't think of a better word. Noah flinched like he'd already said too much. He shook his head hard, fast. I wasn't supposed to." I glanced up, searching faces. The vice principal's expression tightened. The counselor's brows pinched together. Mr. Grant's eyes flicked away for a split second, quick as a blink, then came back to me steady. I forced my voice to stay calm. "Buddy," I said, "I didn't say that, okay? I didn't tell you Mom can't know anything. Did someone tell you that?" Noah's lower lip trembled. He didn't answer. He just hugged the backpack tighter, like whatever was inside it might spill out and ruin everything. Mr. Grant cleared his throat softly. "Sometimes kids repeat phrases," he said. "They get confused. They hear things out of context." Out of context. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text banner flashed at the top of the screen, and I caught the first 2 words before it disappeared, like it had been yanked away. Mina. "Where are?" Then nothing. No notification. No message when I opened the thread. Just the last thing she'd sent me that morning. "Don't forget Noah's folder." A small, cold silence crawled up my spine. I stared at my screen like it was going to explain itself. I refreshed. I closed the app and reopened it. The banner was gone. The thread looked untouched. Deleted notifications. Or something close enough to make my skin prickle. I looked up again. Mr. Grant was watching me, his face neutral, professional, but there was something in his posture, like he was waiting to see what I'd do next. "You called Mina?" I asked, not sure who I was asking. The counselor blinked. "We called the primary contact listed," she said carefully. "It went to voicemail. We called you next." So Mina's phone rang, and she didn't answer. That could be normal. She ignored calls when she was driving. She ignored calls when she was busy. She ignored calls when she didn't want to deal with something stressful. But my son was sitting here shaking, whispering weird sentences like they were landmines, and my wife's phone wasn't picking up. I breathed in slowly and stood. "I'm taking him home," I said. "Now." The vice principal nodded immediately like she was relieved. "Of course. We just want him safe." Noah rose too fast and wobbled, and I grabbed his elbow. His backpack made a soft thud against my leg. I could feel how hard his heart was pounding through his tiny arm. As we moved toward the door, Mr. Grant stepped with us. "Mr. Kim," he said quietly, Can I share something with you?" I stopped. Noah pressed into my side. Mr. Grant held out a folded piece of paper. It wasn't a standard school form. It was plain white, folded into thirds like someone had done it quickly. "I found this in Noah's reading folder," he said. "It wasn't from us." I took it, my fingers suddenly clumsy. I unfolded it, and my eyes caught a short line written in neat handwriting. "Please don't tell Mom. Ask Mr. Grant." My mouth went dry. I looked at Mr. Grant so hard it felt like staring could pull the truth out of him. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look confused. He looked prepared. The counselor noticed the note and frowned. "That's not appropriate," she said, voice tightening. Mr. Grant's jaw ticked once. "I agree," he said. "That's why I wanted you to see it." Noah's fingers clamped around my shirt. "Dad," he whispered, panicked. "Please don't. Please don't talk to her." "To who?" I asked, but the word barely made it out. He shook his head again, tears spilling now. "I'll get in trouble." That was the moment the normal Tuesday feeling finally died. The moment a very quiet, very ugly thought slid into place. Kids don't fear getting in trouble over nothing. They fear it when an adult has taught them to. I swallowed hard and pulled Noah toward me. "You're not in trouble," I said, lower and fiercer than I meant to. "You hear me? You're safe with me." My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Mina's thread. It was an incoming call, and the name on the screen punched the air out of my lungs. Mr. Grant. But he was standing right in front of me, hands at his sides, watching my face. My eyes snapped from the screen to his, and in that split second, before I could even answer, the call stopped on its own. No missed call, no voicemail, just silence, like it had never happened. And behind me, Noah made a small broken sound that told me he'd seen it too. The drive home felt like I was carrying a live wire in my lap. Noah stayed glued to my side like if he let go, something bad would happen again. He wouldn't talk in the car. He just stared at his knees and twisted the zipper pull on his backpack until it clicked. Click, 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 like a tiny metronome keeping him from breaking apart. I kept my voice soft, the way I did when he was little and scared of thunder. "Buddy, I'm not mad. I just need to understand. Who told you Mom can't know?" He shook his head without looking up. "Was it an adult?" Another shake, faster this time. His shoulders climbed toward his ears like he was bracing for a hit that never came. I pulled into our driveway and killed the engine, but I didn't get out right away. The house sat there like a postcard. Small yard, the porch lights still on from last night, a wreath Mina insisted we keep up even after the holidays because it makes the neighbors feel welcome. Everything looked normal enough to make me feel crazier. Noah finally whispered, "If I say it, she'll cry, and then it'll be my fault." That line landed in my chest like a stone. Kids don't invent guilt that specific. They learn it. Inside, the air smelled like the cinnamon candles Mina loved. Too sweet, too clean, like someone trying to cover up something else. Noah dropped his backpack by the entryway and immediately went toward the hallway like he was trying to disappear into his room. "Hey," I said gently, catching his wrist. "Can you sit with me for a minute? On the couch. Just for a minute." He hesitated, then nodded, eyes still glassy. We sat. The living room was the same controlled chaos as always. A folded hoodie on the armrest, a crumpled grocery receipt on the coffee table, Noah's library book face down like it had been abandoned mid-page. My keys clinked when I set them down, and the sound felt too loud. I pulled out the note from his folder again and smoothed it on my knee like it might change if I stared long enough. "Please don't tell Mom. Ask Mr. Grant." "Did you write this?" I asked. Noah shook his head so hard his hair flopped into his eyes. "No." "Did Mr. Grant give it to you?" He flinched at the name. His mouth tightened and he finally looked at me, straight at me, with that desperate adult seriousness kids get when they're trying to protect someone. "I'm not supposed to say his name at home," he whispered. The room went very still. I forced air into my lungs. "Who said that?" Noah stared at the carpet like it was safer than my face. "Mom." It was like somebody quietly turned the temperature down in the house. Not cold exactly, just wrong. I picked up my phone again, thumb hovering over Mina's contact. My mind kept replaying that missing text banner, the way it flashed and then evaporated like it had been erased out of the air. I opened our thread and scrolled, searching for anything odd. Nothing, just regular stuff. Can you grab milk? Noah has soccer at 4. Don't forget the folder. Then I checked my notification history. A habit I'd picked up from IT work. When something disappears, you go looking for logs. There should have been something. A record, a trace. But the list was clean. No banner from Mina, no call attempt, nothing. The quiet horror of it crept under my skin. Not panic, not rage, something worse, this feeling that reality had been edited, and I was the only one noticing the cut marks. Noah watched my face and his hands started shaking again. "Dad, please," he said. "Don't call her. She'll get mad. She said you make everything bigger." That hit a nerve. Mina had been saying variations of that for months. Every time I questioned something, every time I said, "This doesn't feel right," she'd tilt her head and sigh like I was a complicated appliance she regretted buying. "You're dramatic. You're paranoid. You always assume the worst. You're making it bigger." I heard her voice in my head so clearly I almost answered it out loud. I stood and walked to the kitchen, partly to move, partly to keep Noah from seeing whatever expression was trying to climb onto my face. On the counter, next to a stack of mail, Mina's spare keyring sat in a little dish. Beside it was her phone charger, plugged in, cable curled like a question mark. Her phone wasn't there. I hated the part of me that noticed that. I hated the part of me that immediately wondered why. I poured Noah a glass of water and slid it toward him. He didn't touch it. He kept staring at the hallway like he expected Mina to appear any second and take over the room with her opinions and her calm voice that always sounded like she was winning. My work phone buzzed again. This time, it stuck. "HR. Please confirm your absence and provide documentation." My throat tightened. I pictured my manager's face, the way he'd been watching me lately, the way he'd made little comments about commitment and reliability. I'd taken too many calls from school this year. I'd left early too often. If he needed a reason to label me a problem, I just handed him one with both hands. External pressure, right on cue. Like the universe loved bad timing. A car door slammed outside. Noah's whole body jolted. I looked through the front window as Mina walked up the path with 2 grocery bags in her hands. She looked put together. Hair neat, coat zipped, lips tinted like she'd had time to look in a mirror. When she saw my car in the driveway, her steps faltered just a fraction. Then her face rearranged itself into concern. Practiced. Clean. She came in fast. "What happened?" she asked, eyes already scanning Noah. "They called me, and—" She stopped mid-sentence. Just stopped. Because Noah didn't run to her. He shrank deeper into the couch. Mina's gaze flicked to me. "Why is he home?" I held up the note. The school called. He was terrified. Mina's eyes landed on the paper and went blank for half a second, like her brain was deciding which reaction to pick. "Where did you get that?" she asked, voice too even. "It was in his folder," I said. "It says not to tell you. It says to ask Mr. Grant." At the name, she flinched. It was small, but it was real. Her fingers tightened around the grocery bag handles until the plastic stretched. Noah made a tiny sound, like a warning, like he knew what was coming. Mina set the bags down slowly. She didn't look at Noah. She looked at me like I was an accusation standing in her living room. "Why are you saying his name like that?" she asked. "Like what?" I said. "Like he did something wrong," she snapped, and the mask slipped just enough for me to see the anger underneath. Mr. Grant is his teacher. He's been helping Noah. He's the only one who actually understands him." I stared at her. Helping him how? Since when does a teacher tell a kid he can't say the teacher's name at home? Mina's jaw tightened. Then she smiled, thin and sharp. He didn't tell him that. Noah misunderstands things when he's anxious. You know that. Noah's eyes filled. He whispered, "Mom." She finally looked at him. The second she did, her whole expression softened into maternal concern like a switch flipped. "Oh, baby," she said, voice sweet. "Come here." Noah didn't move. Mina's eyes flicked back to me, and in them I saw something colder than anger. Control. "You took him out of school without talking to me," she said quietly. "You didn't even call." "I tried," I said. "Your phone didn't answer." "It was on silent," she said immediately. "I was driving." I held my phone up. "Then why did I see your text pop up and disappear?" Her eyebrows lifted, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about?" I hated how cleanly she said it, like she had practiced saying it while looking at herself in a mirror. I stepped closer, still holding the note. "And why?" I said, voice low. "Does my kid think you'll cry and it'll be his fault if he tells me something?" Mina's face hardened. "Because you interrogate him," she snapped. "You always turn everything into a court case." Noah's hands went over his ears like he was trying to shut the whole scene out. That's when I noticed something else. On Mina's wrist, just above her watch, there was a faint smear of blue ink, like she'd brushed against a pen. Normal, maybe. But it caught my attention because it reminded me of the handwriting on the note. Neat, careful, adult. Mina followed my eyes and she instinctively pulled her sleeve down. A tiny motion, a tiny tell. The room felt smaller. The air felt thinner. I heard myself say, "Did you write that note?" Mina's laugh came out too fast. "Are you serious?" "No." "Then who did?" I pressed. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she didn't want Noah to hear, except he was hearing everything anyway. "Stop," she said. "You're embarrassing yourself, and you're scaring him." Noah suddenly spoke, voice shaking. "Dad, please don't ask. Mr. Grant said—" Mina's head snapped toward him. "Noah." Just his name, but it came out like a warning shot. Noah clamped his mouth shut. His eyes darted to me, terrified. And right then, my phone buzzed again. Not a text, not a call, but a calendar alert I didn't recognize at first because it wasn't mine. It was a shared family calendar notification. Noah, extra reading session, library. Location, Maple Grove Elementary. Created by Mina. I stared at it, pulse hammering, because I hadn't known about any extra reading session, because the timestamp on the invite was last week, because the person listed as guest wasn't Noah's counselor. It was Mr. Grant. I looked up at Mina, and she met my eyes with a calm that didn't belong in an innocent house. "Why," I said slowly, "is my wife scheduling private sessions between my son and his teacher, and hiding them from me?" Mina's lips parted like she was about to explain it away, and Noah, shaking, whispered the sentence that made my blood run cold. "He's not there for reading, Dad." Noah's whisper hung in the air like smoke you can't wave away. "He's not there for reading, Dad." Mina's face snapped into that tight smile again, the one she used when she wanted to flatten a situation before it grew teeth. "Okay, that's enough," she said, aiming the words at Noah like a lid. "You're tired. You're worked up. Go to your room." Noah didn't move. He stayed pressed into the couch, backpack still in his lap like armor, eyes stuck on me as if he was asking permission to exist. I felt something raw rise in my throat. Not anger yet. Something quieter. The kind of fear that makes your senses sharpen and your stomach go hollow at the same time. "Mina," I said, keeping my voice low, "what does he mean?" She didn't answer the question. She reached for her phone. And that's when the silence got loud. Because the second her screen lit, she angled it away from me. Automatic. Protective. Her thumb moved too fast, like she was deleting something before I could even see the shape of it. It was a small motion. The kind people don't think anyone notices. I noticed. "Don't," I said. Mina froze for half a second, then turned her head like she couldn't believe I'd just spoken to her like that in our own kitchen. "Excuse me?" "I'm not doing this," I said. "Not the acting. Not the editing." Noah's terrified. "I got a note in his folder that tells me to ask his teacher and not tell you. You scheduled private library sessions and didn't mention them. And now my kid says it's not reading." Noah made a tiny sound. Mina's eyes cut to him and her voice softened into syrup. "Sweetie, go wash your face, please." Noah looked at me again, pleading. I nodded once, slowly, trying to promise him without words that I wasn't going to leave him alone in this. He stood up, backpack strap slipping off one shoulder, and shuffled down the hall. Halfway there, he stopped and turned back like he wanted to say something else, but Mina's stare pinned him in place. He disappeared into his room. The moment his door clicked shut, Mina's softness evaporated. "You are not going to make Mr. Grant into some villain because you're insecure," she said, voice sharp. "He's helping our son because you're too busy playing the nice parent to actually handle his issues." "My issues," I repeated. "Our issues," she corrected, like she was doing me a favor. "Noah's falling behind. I'm trying to fix it, and you're sabotaging it because you can't stand not being the center of attention." That sentence was so unfair it almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I said, "Show me the calendar invite." Mina's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I'm his father," I said, "and I'm done being the last person to know what's happening in my own family." She didn't hand it over. She stepped backward, putting the kitchen island between us like a barrier. And then, like the universe loved a cruel punchline, my phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. "Stop harassing Mr. Grant. We all see you." I stared at it, pulse thudding. Another message came in immediately after, from a different number. "Noah is lucky to have a teacher who cares. Don't ruin it." My mouth went dry. Mina watched my face change and smiled, just a little, like she'd expected this, like she'd prepared the room for witnesses before I even knew a trial had started. I turned my phone screen toward her. "Who is this?" She didn't even pretend to be surprised. "Probably one of the moms," she said lightly. "People talk. You stormed into the school and pulled Noah out like it was an emergency. That looks unstable." Unstable. That word again. The same shiny weapon, pulled out whenever she needed to make me doubt my own eyes. "People talk because you made them talk," I said, and it came out colder than I intended. Mina's jaw tightened. "Don't accuse me of—" The doorbell rang. Once. Twice. Then a knock, firm, familiar, like whoever it was didn't consider our house a private place. Mina didn't look shocked. She looked ready. She walked to the door and opened it, and there stood her sister, Vanessa, holding a tote bag like she'd come to stay. Behind her was a woman from Noah's class I recognized from pickup line gossip. Tara, PTA energy, phone already in her hand. 3 women in my entryway, all looking at me like I was a story they'd already agreed on. A frozen frame. Mina at the door with her hand still on the knob. Vanessa stepping inside. Tara hovering behind with her phone raised like she might accidentally be recording, while I stood by the kitchen counter with my keys and Noah's folder in my hand, the crumpled receipt still on the table, and my phone glowing with those anonymous texts. Vanessa's eyes flicked over me like an inspection. "Mina said you're spiraling," she announced like it was a fact. "She said you scared Noah." My chest tightened. I didn't scare him. Something happened at school. Tara's eyebrows lifted, performative concern. "Mr. Grant called Mina," she said. "He said you were aggressive." My vision tunneled. He called Mina? Mina's mouth stayed perfectly calm. "He called to update me," she said, like a responsible adult. I held up the note again. "Then explain this. Explain why someone put a message in my kid's folder telling me not to tell my wife and to ask his teacher." Vanessa glanced at the note like it was dirty. That could be written by anyone. "It was in his folder," I snapped. "In the folder that goes from school to home. It wasn't from me." Tara took a step forward, phone still in her hand. "Maybe Noah wrote it," she said too quickly. "Kids do weird things." I stared at her. He can barely write a paragraph without help. Mina's voice turned sweet again, but her eyes were hard. "Please don't raise your voice," she said, loud enough for Tara to hear. "You're making everyone uncomfortable." There it was, the stage, the audience, the script. My phone buzzed again, this time a work email. HR. Failure to comply may result in disciplinary action. I swallowed, external pressure squeezing in from all sides, work threatening my paycheck while my home turned into a courtroom. I looked at Mina. "I'm going to the school," I said, "right now. I'm asking for the full schedule, the logs, everything. And I'm asking why my child is being told to keep secrets." Vanessa stepped into my path. "You're not going anywhere until you calm down." I almost laughed at the audacity. "Move." Mina's eyes flashed. "If you go back there and make a scene, you'll make it worse for Noah." "What makes it worse for Noah?" I said slowly. "Is secrets." Tara's phone tilted slightly like she wanted a better angle. That's when Noah's door creaked open down the hall. He stood there in the doorway, small and pale, face freshly washed but eyes still wet. In his hand was his tablet, the one Mina used to let him do reading apps. He walked toward us like he was walking into traffic. He held the tablet out to me with shaking hands. "I didn't want to," he whispered, "but Dad should see." Mina's face drained of color. On Noah's tablet screen was the school messaging app, a thread labeled Mr. Grant, with Mina's name on it, too. I could see the top of the conversation without even touching it, and right there, in plain text, was a message from Mina sent late last night. "Please delete the reminders. He's starting to ask questions." Under it, Mr. Grant's reply. "I will. Tomorrow, after library." My ears rang. Vanessa muttered, "What is that?" Mina lunged forward. "Noah, give me that." Noah flinched back hard, like he expected her hands to hurt even if they never did. He pressed himself behind me, and suddenly I was holding my kid's tablet like it was evidence, and also a shield. I stared at Mina. She didn't look like a worried mom anymore. She looked like someone caught mid-act. And my son, voice barely audible, said the one thing that turned my blood to ice. "He told me what to say if you ever came." I didn't move for a second. I just stood there with Noah tucked behind my hip, his small fingers gripping my sweatshirt, and his tablet glowing in my hand like it weighed 100 pounds. "He told you what to say," I repeated, forcing the words out carefully like if I said them too fast they'd turn into shouting. "Mr. Grant told you what to say?" Noah nodded once. Tiny. Miserable. Mina's eyes went hard, and for the first time that day she didn't bother with the sweet mom voice. "Noah," she said, low and dangerous, "go to your room. Now." Noah's grip tightened. Vanessa stepped forward like she owned the hallway. "Give Mina the tablet," she said, reaching out. I angled my body so she couldn't. "Don't touch him," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Tara's phone was still up. I could see my own face in the little black reflection of her screen, distorted and tense. She was smiling like she was collecting content. Mina inhaled sharply, then turned that calm back on like a light. "See?" she told them, nodding at me. "This is what I deal with." Something snapped in me. Not rage, not yet, but a sudden, clean clarity. "This ends now," I said. I looked down at Noah. "Put your shoes on." Mina took a step forward. "Absolutely not. You're not taking him anywhere." "I'm taking him to the counselor," I said. "Not the school, not your sister, not Mr. Grant. A real counselor." Vanessa scoffed. "He doesn't need counseling. He needs structure. Mina is the only one actually parenting." Noah made a small sound like he wanted to vanish. I hated all of them for making him stand there listening to adults argue about him like he was a broken appliance. My phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "If you take him, you're kidnapping." My hands started to shake, but I kept the phone down by my thigh so Noah wouldn't see. Mina's eyes flicked toward my pocket like she could feel the message land. "Don't be dramatic," she said. "You're escalating because you want control." The irony almost choked me. I looked at Tara. "Put the phone away." She blinked innocently. "I'm not recording." "You're holding it like you are," I said. Mina's voice sharpened. "Stop threatening my friends." "Stop recruiting an audience," I shot back, and the words were out before I could soften them. Noah's sneakers were still by the entryway. I guided him down the hall, slow, calm, like we were just going to grab a jacket. Mina followed 2 steps behind us, and I could feel her anger in the air like static. When Noah bent to put his shoes on, Mina whispered close to my ear, so low only I could hear. "If you keep pushing, I will make sure you lose him." My stomach dropped. I turned my head just enough to look at her. "Did you just threaten me?" Her smile was thin. "I'm telling you the reality. You're not stable right now." There it was again. The label. The trap. Noah tied his laces with trembling fingers. I crouched beside him and kept my voice gentle. "We're going for a drive, okay? We're getting ice cream and we're talking to someone safe." He nodded, eyes shining. Mina stepped in front of the door as I reached for my keys. Vanessa moved to block the hallway. Tara shifted her phone slightly like she wanted the moment where I explode. I didn't give it to them. I pulled out my phone and hit record, not video, just audio, then held it casually in my palm. "Mina," I said, loud enough for everyone, "move away from the door." She stared at me offended. "Are you recording me?" "I'm protecting myself," I said, "because you keep calling me unstable while you're trying to keep me from leaving with my child." Vanessa's mouth opened. Tara's eyes widened. Mina's expression changed, just for a flash, into something calculating, like she was deciding how much damage control this needed. Then, like a switch, she stepped aside with a dramatic sigh. "Fine," she said. "Go. Run away from your responsibilities like you always do." I didn't respond. I just guided Noah out, hand on his shoulder, and walked him to the car. The second we got inside, Noah exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. I locked the doors. My fingers were clumsy on the screen as I opened the school messaging thread again. I scrolled, heart pounding, looking for more than those 2 lines. There were gaps, whole holes where messages should have been, like someone had gone through and vacuumed up the evidence. Noah leaned toward me, whispering. He said if you asked questions, I should say you hate him, and that you always yell, and that Mom would be sad. I gripped the steering wheel until my palms hurt. "Did he ever touch you?" I asked, and I hated myself for the way the question sounded. Noah shook his head fast. "No, he talks close, and he tells me secrets. He says secrets make people stronger." Quiet horror slid through me, cold and slow. The kind that doesn't spike. You just feel your whole body go numb around it. My phone rang. Work. I almost ignored it, but the fear of losing my paycheck was its own kind of leash. I answered on speaker, careful with Noah listening. "David," my manager said. "HR just forwarded me your absence. Again. What's going on?" "I had an emergency with my son," I said. "The school called." He exhaled, impatient. "You've had a lot of emergencies." My throat tightened. "I'm not making them up." "I didn't say you were," he replied, but his tone did. "HR needs documentation today. If you can't produce it, they're going to start a corrective action plan." Corrective action? Disciplinary. Words that sound professional but feel like a guillotine. "I'll send something," I said, staring at Noah's backpack on the floor like it was proof my life was real. "Give me an hour." He hung up without saying goodbye. Noah's voice was tiny. "Are you getting fired because of me?" I turned to him immediately. "No," I said, too fast. "Never. None of this is your fault." He nodded like he wanted to believe me, but his eyes didn't. I started the car and drove, not to the school, because my instincts screamed that walking back in there alone would turn me into the villain on someone else's phone, but to a public place. A strip mall with a busy ice cream shop, bright lights, families. Witnesses who weren't Mina's friends. Noah sat beside me with his hands folded tight, watching every passing car like he expected Mina to chase us. In the ice cream shop, he barely ate. He kept glancing at my phone. I opened my email and sent HR the only documentation I had, a screenshot of the incoming call from the school and a short note. Emergency pickup requested by Maple Grove Elementary at 10:41 a.m. It felt flimsy. It felt like trying to stop a flood with a paper towel. Then I did something that made my skin crawl. I opened our home security app. We had installed cameras after a car break-in last summer. Mina's idea. "For peace of mind," she'd said sweetly. The live feed loaded. The view from our living room camera showed Mina pacing, phone to her ear, Vanessa sitting stiff on the couch, Tara standing too close to the camera like she was trying to make sure it heard everything. I turned the volume up. Mina's voice came through, low and urgent, and my blood ran cold when I realized who she was talking to. "I told you he's suspicious," she hissed. "You need to fix this. Today." A man's voice replied, calm and familiar. "Mr. Grant." "He won't have access soon," he said. "Just keep Noah on script." Noah's spoon slipped out of his hand and clattered onto the table. His eyes were huge. I couldn't breathe. Mina's voice sharpened. And delete anything you sent. Anything. He's the type who screenshots. Mr. Grant's voice softened in a way that made my stomach twist. I know. I'll handle him. I'll call the vice principal. We'll document his behavior. Document his behavior. Turn me into a file, a case, a problem. Then Mina said something that felt like a knife sliding in slow. And tonight, don't come to the house. Not tonight. He's watching everything. Mr. Grant chuckled, quiet. I'm not coming for you. I'm coming for him to stop. My whole body went ice. Noah whispered, barely audible. He's talking about you. My phone buzzed again, and this time it was a notification that didn't disappear. A new calendar invite, sent to Mina's email but visible on the shared family calendar. Library session. Updated location. The location line wasn't the school anymore. It was an address label that just said, My Place. No street number, no details, just that. And the inviter wasn't Mina. It was Mr. Grant. I stared at the screen, then at my son, who looked like he might throw up. I realized in that bright ice cream shop with families laughing around us that this wasn't just about school. This was about a plan. And I had a horrible feeling that the next move wasn't going to be mine. I didn't tell Noah what I'd just heard on the camera feed. I couldn't. Not yet. I just reached across the table, covered his hand with mine, and forced my voice into something steady. Okay, I said. We're going to do this the safe way. No surprises, no shouting, just smart. He nodded, but his eyes kept darting toward the door like Mina might walk in at any moment and drag him back by the backpack straps. I slid into a booth facing the window so I could see the parking lot. I hated that instinct, hated how quickly I'd turned into a man scanning for threats in a place that smelled like waffle cones. My phone was still open to the family calendar invite. My place. No address, no details, just the smugness of it, like a dare. I took a screenshot, then another. I recorded the security clip too, holding my phone so still my wrist cramped. I wasn't thinking like a husband anymore. I was thinking like a guy trying to preserve evidence before it vanished. Then my bank app sent a notification that made my stomach drop. Your card has been temporarily locked. I tapped it, confused, and got a second message. Account access updated. I tried logging in again. It kicked me out. For a few seconds I just stared at the screen, feeling something cold spread through my chest. Mina didn't just want to control the story. She wanted to control the oxygen, money, access, movement. Noah watched my face. What? He whispered. I swallowed. Nothing you need to worry about, I lied, because what else was I going to say? Mom just cut Dad off so he can't even buy gas. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Unknown number again. I let it go. A third time. This one came through with a name, and it turned my blood to ice. Maple Grove Elementary. I answered, trying to sound normal. Hello? A woman's voice, tense and tired. Mr. Kim, this is Vice Principal Jensen. I'm calling to follow up. We've had additional concerns raised this afternoon. My throat tightened. Concerns about what? There was a pause, like she was choosing words that wouldn't get her sued. About today's interaction. About Noah. About whether he's safe. I stared at Noah across the table, his small shoulders hunched, his spoon untouched. He's with me, I said. He is safe. Mr. Kim, she said softly, we need you to come in. Today. With Noah. And if possible, with another adult present. Another adult. A witness. I understood the message. I'd walked into the school alone this morning, worried and confused, and now I was officially a concern. Mina and Mr. Grant didn't even need to win the argument. They just needed to make me look unstable long enough to take my kid out of my hands. "I'll come," I said, "but I want the counselor in the room, and I want Mr. Grant nowhere near my son." Another pause. "Mr. Grant will be present," she said carefully. "He's a relevant party." My jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. "Then I'm recording," I said, and I didn't care how that sounded anymore. "And I'm bringing someone." When I ended the call, Noah stared at me like he could tell I'd just stepped onto a moving sidewalk I couldn't get off. "Am I in trouble?" he asked. "No," I said quickly. "You're not. This is grown-up stuff, okay? You just tell the truth." His lip trembled. What if the truth makes Mom cry? I felt that quiet horror again, and the slow, sick realization of how much pressure had been poured into my kid's little body. "Then Mom will handle her feelings," I said, firm but gentle. "That's not your job." I called the only person I trusted to show up without drama, my co-worker Malik. Good man. Calm. The kind of guy who never raised his voice, which meant people listened when he did speak. He picked up on the second ring. "You sound like you're in a mess," he said immediately. "I am," I admitted. "Can you meet me at Noah's school? I need a witness." He didn't ask for details. "Text me the address. I'm coming." 10 minutes later, Malik pulled into the lot as we did. He walked up with his hands visible, posture relaxed, face serious. Noah tucked himself closer to me when he saw another adult, then relaxed when Malik crouched down and spoke softly. "Hey, champ," Malik said. "We're just here to help your dad. You did nothing wrong." Inside the office, the air felt different than it had this morning. More people, more stiffness. The counselor was there, the vice principal, a district rep I didn't recognize, and Mr. Grant sitting at the edge of the room like he belonged there. Mina was already seated, Vanessa beside her, both of them composed like they were waiting for court to start. Tara wasn't there, but I could feel her presence anyway, like the roomer had already left the building and didn't need her phone anymore. A frozen frame formed the second we stepped in. Me, with Noah's backpack in my hand and my keys hooked in my finger. Noah pressed to my side, Malik standing slightly behind me, and across the table, Mina with her phone face down, Vanessa with her arms crossed, Mr. Grant with a pen poised above a notepad like he was ready to document, and a stack of papers in front of the vice principal like the verdict was already printed. "Thank you for coming," Vice Principal Jensen said, voice professional. "This meeting is to ensure Noah's well-being and clarify communication." Mr. Grant smiled at Noah, small, practiced. "Hey, buddy," he said gently. Noah flinched. It was tiny, but it was real. His fingers tightened on my sleeve. His eyes dropped to the floor like the teacher's attention was a spotlight he didn't want. I saw Mr. Grant notice it. I saw his smile tighten, then return. Mina leaned forward, voice honey smooth. "Noah's been under a lot of stress," she said, "and David's been overwhelmed. He's not handling it well." I felt Malik's presence beside me like a steady wall. "I'm handling it fine," I said. "What I'm not doing is letting my son be coached into keeping secrets." The district rep cleared her throat. "Coached is a serious word." "So is terrified," I said, and I looked at the counselor. "You saw him today. You heard what he said." The counselor's expression flickered. Sympathy, discomfort, something like warning. "Noah is anxious," she said carefully. "We want to reduce conflict around him." Mr. Grant spoke, calm as a bedtime story. "I've only ever tried to support Noah," he said, "but this morning, Mr. Kim was agitated. He raised his voice. He accused staff. It created an unsafe environment." "That's a lie," I snapped, then forced myself to breathe. "I was worried. I did not threaten anyone, and I'm not the one sending notes through a child." I slid Noah's folder onto the table and unfolded the paper, placing it flat like a card in a bad magic trick. "Please don't tell Mom. Ask Mr. Grant." Silence. Mina's eyes stayed on the paper for half a second too long before she lifted her gaze like it was nothing. Vanessa scoffed. "Anyone could write that." Mr. Grant leaned in slightly, squinting like he was examining evidence, then sat back. "That isn't my handwriting," he said smoothly. I pulled out my phone and, with my thumb, opened the screenshot of the messaging thread Noah had shown me. "Please delete the reminders. He's starting to ask questions." "I will, tomorrow after library." I turned the screen toward the vice principal. Mina's face stayed calm, but her nostrils flared. Mr. Grant's jaw tightened for a split second, then loosened again. The district rep's eyes narrowed. "Where did you get that?" "My son," I said, "because he was scared, because he finally showed me." Mr. Grant's voice softened. "It's being taken out of context," he said. "Mina asked me to reduce notifications because Noah was getting distracted." Noah made a small sound. He shook his head, barely visible. The counselor noticed. "Noah," she said gently, "can you tell us what you mean?" Noah's eyes flicked to Mina. Mina's face didn't change, but her stare sharpened like a blade being pulled halfway out of a sheath. Noah swallowed hard. His voice came out thin. He said, "If Dad asked questions, I should say Dad yells, and that Mom will cry." Mina inhaled sharply like she'd been slapped. "Noah," she whispered, wounded, "why would you say that?" Mr. Grant's voice went quiet, almost disappointed. "Noah," he said, "that's not what we talked about." "We." The word landed heavy. Malik's voice cut in, calm and firm. "Let the child speak without correction." The vice principal's face paled a little. The district rep scribbled something fast. Mr. Grant's pen tapped once against his notepad, a tiny, impatient click. Then Mina did something that turned my stomach. She began to cry. Not messy sobs, controlled tears, placed carefully. The kind that made adults rush to comfort her. "I'm trying so hard," she said, voice shaking just enough. "I just want Noah to succeed. And David, he's been unpredictable. He took Noah from school without my consent. He won't let me talk to him. He's isolating us." Isolating. That word again, like she was reading from a script. I felt the room start to tilt toward her, toward the familiar story. Emotional mom, unstable dad. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again, harder, like it was insisting. I pulled it out and my chest went numb. It was an email from HR, subject line in bold. "Formal complaint received. Immediate response required." Attached was a PDF, and the sender listed under complainant wasn't my manager. It was an unfamiliar name with a note beneath it. Submitted on behalf of Maple Grove Elementary. Staff statement. I looked up slowly. Mr. Grant was watching me like he already knew what I was reading, and Mina, tears still on her cheeks, gave me the smallest, calmest smile I'd seen all day, like she'd just flipped the board over while I was still trying to play the game. I stared at that HR email like it was written in another language, even though it was my language, my life, my name on it. The PDF preview showed phrases like unsafe behavior, aggressive, concerns for the child. The kind of words that don't just follow you to work, they follow you to court, to custody, to every future conversation where you try to defend yourself and people already decided you're the problem. Across the table, Mina's tears kept shining, perfectly placed. Vanessa sat with her chin lifted like she'd won something. Mr. Grant's pen hovered over his notepad, calm as a surgeon. Noah was pressed against my side, small fingers knotted in my sleeve. Malik stood behind me, still, watchful, like he could physically hold the room steady if he tried hard enough. I forced myself to breathe through my nose. Slowly, like I was trying to keep my hands from shaking in public. "Before we go any further," I said, voice low, "I want to play something." Mina's eyes narrowed. "David, don't." "I'm going to," I said. I looked at Vice Principal Jensen, then the district rep. "This is from our home security camera. Time-stamped, audio." The counselor's face tightened. The district rep's pen paused mid-scratch. Mr. Grant leaned back slightly like he was bored. "This is inappropriate," he said smoothly. "He's escalating again." I didn't look at him. I just pulled up the clip with my thumb, the one I'd saved before Mina could delete whatever she was deleting. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was rattling my ribs. I hit play. Mina's voice filled the small conference room, sharp and urgent, coming from my phone speaker like a ghost. "I told you he's suspicious," Mina hissed. "You need to fix this. Today." Then Mr. Grant, calm and familiar. "He won't have access soon. Just keep Noah on script." My stomach turned as the words echoed in the room. I watched faces change in real time. Vice Principal Jensen going pale, the counselor blinking fast, the district rep sitting straighter like she'd just heard a key phrase in a confession. Mina's head snapped toward my phone, her mouth opening, but the clip kept going. "And delete anything you sent," Mina said. "Anything. He's the type who screenshots." Mr. Grant's voice softened in that sick, gentle way. "I know. I'll handle him. I'll call the vice principal. We'll document his behavior." A silence fell so heavy it felt physical, like the air got thicker. I paused the clip right there before it could go any further because I didn't need more. They had just said the quiet part out loud. A frozen frame burned into my mind. My phone in my hand, screen glowing. Mr. Grant half rising from his chair like he wanted to snatch it. Mina frozen with one hand lifted off the table. Noah clutching his backpack strap with white knuckles. The district rep staring at Mina like she'd never seen her before. 5 people, 5 different versions of fear, and a single little device holding the truth none of them could talk their way out of. Mina found her voice first, too loud, too fast. That's edited," she said. "He's manipulating this. He's obsessed. He's always spying." "It's our living room camera," I said. My voice stayed quieter than hers. "It records when there's motion. I didn't create it. I didn't write it. I didn't put those words in your mouth." Mr. Grant's jaw worked once. He tried to smile like he could charm his way back to the surface. "This is being misconstrued," he began. "I meant—" The district rep raised her hand. Just a simple gesture, but it cut him off like a door slamming. "Mr. Grant," she said, crisp and flat, "you're done speaking for now. He blinked and I saw it. The first crack. Not panic. Calculation shifting into damage control. Vice Principal Jensen swallowed hard. I didn't know, she murmured, and she sounded like she meant it. The counselor turned gently toward Noah. Noah, she said, voice soft, you're safe here. No one is in trouble for telling the truth. Can you tell us what happened? In your own words. Noah's shoulders trembled. He stared at his shoes. For a second, I thought he'd shut down completely. Then he whispered, I saw them. Mina's head snapped around. Noah. The district rep's eyes flashed. Do not interrupt him. Noah's voice came out in little pieces like he had to push each one through a tight place in his throat. After school, when Mom said, library, I went back for my water bottle. I saw her and Mr. Grant in his room. They were close. He kissed her. She laughed, but quiet. Mina's face went blank. Not crying now, not sweet, just blank. Noah wiped his nose with his sleeve. Mr. Grant saw me. He said it was a secret. He said secrets make people stronger. He said if Dad knew, Dad would ruin everything and Mom would cry and it would be my fault. He told me what to say if you ever came. My chest hurt. I felt Malik's hand touch my shoulder once, steadying me without a word. The district rep's pen moved again, fast this time. Were you told to pass notes? She asked. Noah nodded, a small, miserable bob of his head. He put it in my folder, he whispered. He said you would ask questions. He said you and Mom fight because you don't understand help. He said he'd protect Mom. Mina's voice came out sharp and thin. He's confused. He's anxious. Stop, I said, and it wasn't loud, but it carried. Just stop. For the first time, Mina looked at me like she couldn't recognize me, like I wasn't playing my role anymore. The district rep pushed her chair back. This meeting is over, she said. Noah will remain with the counselor and his father. Mr. Grant, you will leave this room immediately. Vice Principal Jensen, you and I are going to discuss next steps and mandatory reporting. Mr. Grant stood too fast, trying to keep his face calm, but his hands betrayed him. He gathered his notepad, his pen, like props he suddenly didn't know what to do with. As he passed Noah, he tried one last soft smile. Noah flinched again, and that flinch felt like a verdict. Mina tried to stand with him, like she could follow the truth out the door. Vanessa grabbed her elbow, whispering something urgent. Mina's eyes darted to me, then to my phone, then to Noah, and for the first time that day, she looked scared in a way that wasn't performative. I left the room with Noah and the counselor. Malik stayed close, a quiet shadow. In the counselor's office, Noah sat on a beanbag chair with his backpack clutched to his chest like it was still the only safe thing he had. He stared at the wall for a long time. Then, without looking at me, he whispered, "Is Mom going to hate me?" I knelt in front of him. "No," I said, and my voice cracked. I swallowed it down. "Noah, listen to me. Adults are responsible for adult choices. You are not responsible for their feelings. You did the brave thing." He blinked hard. "He said Dad is unstable." I let out a slow breath. The word tasted like poison. "He said that because he needed you to doubt me," I said. "Because if you doubted me, you'd keep the secret." The counselor watched me carefully, and I could tell she was measuring every sentence for safety. I didn't blame her. The world had turned my family into a file. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a voicemail from an unknown number. I stepped into the hall and listened with my heart in my throat. Mr. Grant's voice. Low. Controlled. Not angry. almost disappointed. "David," he said, like he knew me, like we were equals. "This doesn't need to be a spectacle. Mina is under pressure. Noah needs stability. If you keep pushing, you'll force the system to respond. Be smart." Be smart. Like I hadn't been trying to be smart while my life was being rewritten around me. I saved the voicemail, another piece that couldn't be erased by a missing notification. When we finally walked out, the sun was already dropping. Nashville traffic thick and loud, like the city didn't care what kind of day I'd just survived. Noah held my hand in the parking lot, squeezing too tight. Malik walked on my other side, and I realized I was grateful I didn't have to walk alone into whatever came next. At home that night, the house felt wrong. Too quiet. Mina's candles still sweet in the air, her keys still in the bowl, a crumpled receipt still on the table like nothing happened. Quiet horror isn't screaming. It's standing in your kitchen and realizing the person you built a life with used your child as a shield. Mina texted me once, finally from her real number, and it didn't disappear. "Please don't do this. We can fix it." Then a second message, colder. "If you turn them against me, you'll regret it." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. I didn't reply. I took Noah to bed, sat on the edge of his mattress while he clung to his blanket, and he asked me in a voice so small it almost broke me, "Does love mean secrets?" I shook my head slowly. "No," I said. "Love means you feel safe telling the truth." He watched my face like he was trying to memorize it, like he was making sure I wouldn't vanish the way Mina had been trying to make me vanish. That night, I slept on the couch with my keys in my pocket and my phone on my chest, volume up, every nerve wired. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted my son to wake up and know he still had a father in the house. In the morning, the district rep called. Mr. Grant was being placed on leave pending investigation. A formal process was starting. Words that sounded official, but all I heard was, "This is real. You're not crazy." Work called, too. HR wanted my statement. I sent them the school call log, the meeting notes I'd written down immediately afterward, the saved voicemail, and one short sentence that felt like swallowing glass. A staff complaint was initiated under false pretenses. I didn't know what I was going to lose: my job, my marriage, my reputation, my sense of normal. But I knew what I wasn't going to lose. Noah padded into the living room in his socks, hair a mess, holding his backpack like it was still a shield. He looked at me and whispered, "Are we okay?" I pulled him close and kissed the top of his head. "We're not back to normal," I said honestly, "but we're safe, and we're telling the truth now." Behind us, the front door stayed shut. The locks stayed the same. The cameras stayed on. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what they would show.